Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the screencast. It's Maths You Should Know. And today we're going to start with a quick review of what we've accomplished in algebra so far. And we're going to talk about three properties that help us, kind of like shortcuts in mathematics, and also help us to prove why some things work and some things don't. All right, getting to it. Review. We've already talked about exponents. And exponents in maybe this case is this little number right here, little 3, and I would read the 6 to the third power, or 6 cubed, and it really means 6 times 6 times 6. Please avoid the pitfalls of exponents by saying 6 times 3, that's not true, or 6 plus 6 plus 6, that doesn't work either. This little exponent tells me how many times to multiply our base number, which in this case is 6. We talked about expressions and order of operations, and we talked about please, excuse, my dear, and Sally. PEMDAS, I guess is that. And that stands for parentheses come first, then exponents, then multiplication and division, depending on which one comes first, left to right, and then addition and subtraction, depending on which one comes left to right. We've also covered variables. Variables are letters that are filling in for numbers. For example, x plus 7 equals, not sure yet. The x is the variable. We don't know what it is. And we wrote expressions to help us with everyday problems and further our understanding of what writing an algebraic expression might look like. Which gets us to today and what we covered in class. Today, we talked about properties, and properties are kind of rules or laws that govern our algebraic understanding and also help us with doing some shortcuts and that sort of thing. We're going to be talking about today commutative properties, which is a review. Talked about that before. Associative property and identitive property. Cut to the chase. This is an example of the associative property. And the associative property tells us no matter what order we group things in, that's the parentheses, it's still going to be equal. So in this case, the 15 plus in parentheses 5 plus 8 will be equal to in parentheses 15 plus 5 in parentheses plus 8. Now, please take note, none of the order of the numbers changed. Please also take note that this is addition. We can also do this with multiplication. We could say this problem, 1 times, in parentheses, 2 times 3, and to be equivalent, we could change the parentheses. You know, we're not going to use those little X's much anymore, but yeah, just want to make sure that people out in Screencastville know, hey, he's multiplying. Yeah, this doesn't work for subtraction. This does not work for division. Please, only addition and multiplication. That's our associative property. We change the parentheses around. And I think if I'm looking for, or if the problem is saying, which one of the properties am I using here? Probably looking for those parentheses and then thinking associative. Here's an example of why the associative property won't work with subtraction. These come up with two very different numbers. So let's quickly do that. Right now I have 20 minus 12, which is 8. Bring down the minus 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. And then on this side, I would do the parentheses first. So it would be 20 minus 12 minus 3, which I do believe is 9. And 20 minus 9, I do believe, is 11. And these two are not equal, proving that, nope, that does not work. This is a property called the identity property. Yeah, I'll spit it out. And the identity property proves two things. First, using addition, any number plus 0 using the identity property will remain itself. And in multiplication, any number times 1 will be itself. division, subtraction, not worried about those things, just adding and multiplying. That's the identity property. And let me cut to commutative property, which we haven't talked about yet. See if I can get my eraser here. People that have been in my class know this is a bit of a challenge. There it goes. Okay. If in the commutative property, I write, say, 3 plus 4, the commutative property tells me I can switch those numbers around to say 4 plus 3. It also works with multiplication. 4 times 5 will equal 5 times 4. Doesn't work so well with multiplication. Oh, excuse me, with division or subtraction. I can show you why very quickly. Let's go 9 divided by 3 equals 3 divided by 9. All right, 9 divided by 3 is 3. Getting out my calculator. I think I know the answer. I'm just going to verify with my calculator. It's 3 divided by 9. I'm going to put the 3 first, and then divide it. You might already have it in your head. And it comes out to 3 with bar notation over it, meaning 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, infinity. Yeah, those are definitely not equal. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about the associative property. Another name for that, by the way, I just thought of a good way to remember it. It's called the grouping property. It's the way that we put parentheses around numbers. The identity property, when we either add 0 or multiply times 1, number comes out the same. Or commutative property, I take my add-ins and I can flip them around, and that doesn't matter. It still is equal. Ladies and gentlemen, those are our properties that we talked about in class today. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the math you should know.